Welcome to the Osmo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal EMac coming to you with one Jay Walker, special guest to the podcast as we are recording Sunday night for Monday, February 24th, and we have a ton of basketball headed our way. Jay and I were just kibitzing about the current slate that is playing out, and we have Portland is about to tip off literally in 2 minutes here. And it was an interesting one, Jay. There was a lot of chalk. There was a lot of sidewalk chalk washed away like tears in the rain.
Right. Sure. Yeah. You know, it was a good night if you were bold, if you took some stands and you pivoted, you zigged while others zagged, you went with Paul Millsap instead of, some of the other ones in that price range, maybe Eric Paschall, very highly owned. You could be sitting pretty like Homer Simpson on pumpkins in September, looking good.
Yeah. We've got it was so what happened? So was it Saturday night? Last night was Jalen Brunson going out 12 seconds or 17 seconds into the game with a made bucket, a foul, and then I never saw what happened. I'm assuming it was a dislocated finger or something.
Shoulder. Yeah.
Oh, it was a shoulder. Oh, okay. So yeah, no wonder. At that point I had him on half my lineup, so it was a rough night. But golf brought me home, doubled up there, lost half my buy-ins on NASCAR. Hockey, I'm holding my own at the moment. Basketball, holding my own, and I've got a ton of guys in I have at least basically one Portland guy on every lineup still in play, so I might break even there. And then XFL is knocking on wood. It's about 2 minutes left in this game. God only knows what sort of stat corrections are going to happen there, but I'm hanging in there. We'll see. It could be a double up, almost a triple up here, but I'm assuming weirdness is going to happen and take that away from me. But it's a fun time here. We do have the XFL projections both for players as well as ownership here at Osmo. So you want to check that out. It's a standalone package, but you can jump in and get that. I will at least be profitable all 3 weeks that we've played so far, and I have watched half of one game. The Seattle Dragons were playing whatever it was, Washington D.C. Defenders or whatever their name is. I watched a little bit of that because it was on you could get it on the computer. Jay, they had like just right on the front page of ESPN or whatever whatever thing I was looking at. So it's kind of interesting. I haven't seen a single snap since. So we'll see. But it was interesting because, and I just bring that up and then we'll get to the slate because we got a big one here. But some people were saying, "Oh, I don't think that the league's going to be around or whatever." They've set it up to be bankrolled for three years, and this is a designed thing. It's not going to be like the AAFL that folded, got their sweetheart deal, folded, and the guy just took and the guy said, "Yeah, we're good," and then 2 weeks later, he shut them down and just kept their technology for whatever project he was working. Vince McMahon has got it set up with.
They always say they're funded for 3 years, and then it finds out somebody's bar tab just a little too much, and now we're strapped for cash next year.
So I'm confident they'll be back next year, right? But we'll see. We're only in 3 weeks. I don't even know how many games they play. Probably a dozen or so, and then they get into their playoffs would be my guess. But it will be around for next year. They're already talking about putting some other cities are looking to expand into this. So we'll see. It's been 3 weeks. It's very hard to see a trend just yet, but I thought that was kind of interesting. But we've got, what do we got? 8 games. Yep, an 8-gamer here. We have the over-unders for about half the games. So we're going to go game by game here just so everybody can kind of calibrate. We'll hit a couple highlights from each one, general observations, and talk about potential injuries situations, which of course we will be monitoring. And Jay, I thought we'd have another couple weeks because everybody was like, 25 games left. I thought they'd go another 5 to 10 games. Teams are just screwing around already. I mean, D'Angelo Russell out for rest on Sunday night. Minnesota does play again on Monday, but come on, Karl Anthony Towns out indefinitely, may not play again the rest of the season is what they're saying now. Right. It's just, the Draymond Green, I kind of get that a little bit. And I understand the rest and stuff, but some of these teams are just going nowhere and are pulling some serious shenanigans. And why did Cleveland trade for Andre Drummond to only play him 25 minutes a game? That feels weird as well.
It's a good question. I'm just wondering when did the NBA adopt my work ethic? When did this happen? I always thought I kind of was on the cutting edge with taking time off every other day, but man, the NBA's caught up. So, I mean, kudos to them for figuring it out. And apparently the new draft rules don't matter to some teams. And they're just, I don't know. I mean, they're getting the same kind of value I get out of my stock picks and things like that. When you spend $20 million on a player and then, play them occasionally. It's like that. They're like the NBA has turned into these players into like the Stairmaster that is sitting in the corner, is good for holding some clothes,
yes,
but not really useful for what you thought you'd buy it for. That's the NBA right now.
Yeah. So we're starting off here with Cleveland. They, of course, are hosting Miami here. We just literally saw this matchup in the last game. So this is a home and home for these guys. They do have a day off in between. But here's Drummond's 4 games from his first to the most recent. So I'm going to read the oldest one first. 29 minutes, 22 minutes, 22 minutes, 25 minutes, but he took not 1, not 2, but 3 shots. He had 6 rebounds. This is a guy who has led the league in rebounds for what, like basically 5 years now, or 4, whatever it is. It's 6 rebounds. This is, I don't know what they're doing with Tristan Thompson. Kevin Love didn't play in that game. This is just a whole, I don't know what to do. So Cleveland and Miami, this is not pointing back to, oh, here's what happened, when they lost by 19 to Miami. I don't really want any part of Cleveland.
Right. I mean, they're a huge letdown getting behind big in games and which anytime you're coming across that, especially this time of year, it makes the expensive players, more, very highly tournament only at that point. You can't play them in cash. And really, I tend to gravitate toward the cheaper guys. I mean, the guys that, if they hit, great. If they're, if not, they're not going to kill you in a lineup like Andre Drummond would at 8,100 on DK in there. I mean, it makes him a tournament play. Obviously, with how he's going, it's not good. And people tend to not roster guys who aren't playing well. So it makes him an interesting tourney play, against a Miami team that definitely has a big to keep him in the game for. But as far as Drummond goes, and now with Drummond there, it lowers Kevin Love's overall value in the front court. It just makes, like you said, the overall Cleveland not a great play. So you look for the kind of the values. Kevin Porter maybe getting 29, 30 minutes in a game at 4,200, where he may see, if they do get blown out, his minutes are maybe somewhat safe there. And that's the kind of thing that you kind of shoot for here as these teams enter tank season.
All right. So we've got, I'm just looking at the box score from the last game to see if anything stands out. Tristan Thompson did get 26 minutes, 7 of 10, 16.7 rebounds. So not the worst, but he's not really priced or someone that's trustworthy. Miami kind of spread everything out. They didn't have Jimmy Butler in that game. I'm just checking to see. I don't think Butler is going to. Yeah, Butler is not going to play on Monday. I think he's away from the team for personal reasons.
Right.
So we'll have that similar situation.
Yeah, no Butler. Right.
So I still like Bam. I'm okay with Goran Dragic. He did not have the best game on Saturday night, but he's kind of going to be around there. They didn't need him as much, but he played his usual 26 minutes at 16, 4, and 4. That's solid. Kendrick Nunn had a really good game. He made 4 of 7 3-pointers, 24 points, 8 assists, 2 rebounds, played 35 minutes. So he was the one of 2 guys that got over 30 minutes in this one. And then Duncan Robinson had 32 minutes, a nice game there, 19 points, but he doesn't really do a ton else with the box score. So for me, I'm okay with Nunn. I'm okay with Adebayo. Kelly Olynyk had a throwback game that we can't trust. But 26 minutes, 17 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and a block. I mean, he had a nice fantasy game. You can't count on that. And then Jay Crowder coming off the bench, and he's had some starts, but I would think they'll probably default to this same lineup since we literally just saw this matchup before. So, but even him coming off the bench, not horrible, but not really exciting for anything here. But I do want to give a shout out to Udonis Haslem, who did get into a game. Do you know how many games Udonis has played this season?
No, but I'm contractually obligated to lob a Go Gators in there whenever we mention somebody that wore the orange and blue in college.
3. He has played in 3 so far.
They were chanting for him. I tell you that, that game was interesting.
Last year he played in 10. The year before that, 14. Right. The year before that, 16.
Right. He's an essentially assistant coach. This game was, Dragic and Crowder, very fortunate to get to the numbers they got to in that one because they were blowing Cleveland out. Now that was in Miami. I think that you're right. Bam Adebayo, the thing that I'm most impressed with Bam this year is that, his ball handling has been good, great hands.
Averaging really 5 assists.
Guy. Yeah. So, I mean, you like that. Nunn did get to close that game out. So, very, very interesting there, but his price did jump up, I believe $700 to get to the 5,600 on DK that he is.
He's the guy you want on FanDuel at 47.
Yeah, there you go. Yep, definitely. And so I mean that's where you are. So just bear that in mind that the bench guys, even Dragic and Crowder, they were very fortunate to get to that number, especially Dragic, to get to a 30 number in that game because they did come out also. They did come out at the end. They didn't get to close. Solomon Hill, Chris Silva, Derek Jones Jr. closed along with Duncan Robinson and the aforementioned Kendrick Nunn. So just beware. You're playing a lousy team, and there's a lot of that on the slate. EMac, I don't know if you know this, but 5 of the league's softest defenses per 100 possessions over the last 10 games, and a 6 just outside of it is on this slate
for Monday.
7 of the top pace teams also. So you've got bad defenses and fast games that you can tend to get some lopsided scores. Just beware, but it is a great matchup for these Heat guys for sure.
All right, well let's get to the next one here. This is Milwaukee in Washington. Now Milwaukee plays in Toronto on Tuesday. It would not surprise me if Giannis doesn't make this trip. He sat out the last one, and I think it might have been injury related because he had missed 2 consecutive games when they faced Washington at the end of January, and then he missed the 2 when he was with the mother of his child right before the All-Star break, celebrating the new little guy joining the fold there. So, if I could see him not playing. Now we'll have plenty of time, but if Giannis plays, I don't really want any of these guys because it's in Washington. They are 12.5 point favorites. So in Washington. So to me, that spread says Giannis is probably going to play. I was just spitballing there to see. If Giannis is out, Bledsoe, Middleton, probably Lopez, all absolutely in play. If he's in, their point differential, I think it's still double digits, meaning that they are scoring their average game. They win by 10. Or they outscore their opponent by 10 if you add up all the games they played in the scores, which is insane. Right. Most good teams are 6 because it takes all the losses you've had and nets it against that as well. So it's pretty impressive that they're doing that. So talking about the Wizards, who are coming in on a back-to-back here, we've seen that Milwaukee allows the most 3-pointers, but basically that's because the other teams are playing from behind. And Milwaukee actually has pretty decent defense in the paint there. But, you got Bradley Beal here at 9,400 on DK. That's a no for me. 87 on FanDuel. Now we're talking. 46 on Yahoo. I do believe he's in play there. But then I don't know what else they're going to do because everybody's kind of healthy. But you got Thomas Bryant, who's dealing with re-aggravating a foot injury that I don't know that he'll play on the back-to-back. So I guess maybe Rui Hachimura would be interesting. But with Davis Bertans there, Ish Smith, Troy Brown Jr., Mo Wagner, Shabazz Napier. I mean, they've got a bunch of players now that just kind of cannibalize each other.
Yeah, well, just going back to Milwaukee real quick. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the guys that's going to be targeted in this game will be Robin Lopez with Brolo out
Oh, I didn't
in
realize
there.
that.
Robin is the dirt dog 3K minimum on DK, and it changes kind of things around because with Brolo you stretch the floor a little bit more, obviously, with the 3-point shot. Rolo changes things a little different, so you probably see some more, Jan Mahinmi,
Okay.
in the game there, so that it takes a little of the shine off of Bertans and guys that might play if it had gone a little smaller. Bear in mind if Giannis does miss, could see Ilyasova pop in there and stretch things out there. So we'll keep an eye on things. If Giannis plays, at 11-4 in a game, he's going to have a lot of usage in. Then you certainly, if you're playing a ton of lineups, if you're playing single lineup, probably not great. Just because there's the opportunity to wipe Washington off the floor. But you're talking about a guy who on this slate could get you 60, 65 in there. And while there's other guys that are better in tournaments, it might not be a bad thing, especially against one of the worst 12 defenses in the league recently. So anyway, keep an eye on Rolo. It'll be a popular kind of value play there. And yeah, you're right. I mean, on the Washington side, again, this is one of those things where pay for the expensive guy at your own risk in these kind of games. Otherwise, might want to aim a little bit lower, but they kind of spread all these around. Hachimura at 5.7, not great value wise for me.
Davis Bertans, we need him to get hot, but if he's only going to play in the mid 20s, maybe that he's out there for a dozen field goal attempts, 14 if he's hot and they're feeding him. Where's the upside on that? I mean, if we look back to his big games, it's because there wasn't other guys around taking shots.
Yeah. So I mean, the price isn't great on him either. I mean, but if you can pencil him in if you get somebody scratched out of there, that frees up some those rotational minutes and locks them in for Bertans. You can do that at 53, but not a lot to be excited about. EMac, you're right in this game. I think you're looking at value on Lopez, and you may end up playing some Giannis. If you've got 20 lineups in there, you may have a couple in there with Giannis in there.
All right, we've got Atlanta and Philly. Would it be? Yes. Do we have any news? Would it be a shock if either Simmons or Embiid got a night off? Maybe.
Well, Simmons is out, so
still
Ben
out.
Simmons is definitely out. I would expect to see Embiid play in this game.
Yes, but I would only think one of them would be out, but that makes sense.
So Simmons is definitely out, and we're gonna, so we'll see Embiid in there. Obviously, a great matchup, even with Dwayne Dedmon in the game for Atlanta. It does pull Embiid a little out of the outside a little bit more, and you get Horford with Collins maybe a little closer there. But Al hasn't played great against his former team recently. But the price, EMac, is a Millsap-esque 4,500 on DK.
It went down from Saturday when it was 46.
So, and he has not been good. He's not played well. An average of about a shade under 20 DK points over the last couple of weeks. So not good, but being at home, these guys all play better at home than they do on the road. At 45 against a Hawks team, it's going to move the ball up and down the court. And without Simmons in there, you could see Al Horford being another popular value play on the slate. I like Embiid, like Horford. You pretty much you like anybody playing Atlanta because of the pace. So I mean, Richardson at 48, Philly's going to be a very popular target.
Richardson or Burks is kind of interesting. We'll have news. They had kept Glenn Robinson in the starting lineup for the last one. I don't know what they'll do, if they'll go to one of the guards.
Yeah, I assume they'll go with the Atlanta's length on the perimeter. I would assume that we would see, some of the longer play. So, Robinson could be in there for that. The last time they tried in Atlanta, they tried to play Tybal, against there, and he was shredded. Trae Young absolutely assaulted Matisse Thybulle out there. So may not see that, but they definitely want to try to match the length of the Hawks. And yeah, so I mean, but for me, I mean, Embiid, Horford, Richardson,
Hmm.
those are the main targets here. And if
Yeah,
Atlanta
anybody you think will get mop up duty is kind of interesting.
yeah, Burks. I mean, that's a great. Burks is fantastic for mop up. I think he majored in mop up over the last few years. With Golden State and Utah, et cetera. So love Alec Burks. Scores in bunches. Still relatively inexpensive, and of course, don't forget the volume shooter Mike Scott too. If you're talking about blowout time, playing.
Wait a second. Is he familiar with this opponent?
Yeah, and the dude likes to shoot. If I'm looking for guys like that, and not that I would suggest playing Scott unless there was some.
Hey, he had some moments there with the Wizards when he's like, "Oh, Mike Scott's starting." You're like, "Oh yeah, there's 6 or 7 first quarter shot attempts."
Single-handedly beat the Pacers with the Hawks with a barrage of threes. So no, dude likes to shoot. So I call him the volume shooter, Mike Scott. But anyway, talking about mop up, that's it. But no, I'm Embiid, Horford, Richardson. Very inexpensive on Horford and Richardson. You really don't need to venture far beyond that. You could see if Neto starts going against Trae Young defense at 3,800 on DK. Could be good. Could be good there as well.
I don't know that I can get behind old Halzino Neto.
Now I got to talk about the Hawks, EMac, because the ATL is
they're your team, and for those that since we're not doing the camera here, but Jay's got his framed and autographed Hawks jersey behind him,
right?
Among
the fabulous 2002 2003, what they called playoff bound Atlanta Hawks, where they refunded money to season ticket holders if they didn't make the playoffs. I got a refund, for sure. But yeah, one of the important thing to note in this game is that DeAndre Hunter is likely to play in this one. And what that impacts for the Hawks is it takes the value out of Cam Reddish.
Yep.
So, Reddish has been playing fantastic, and he's going to get minutes here too. It just distributes rebounds a little bit more. And Hunter, typically will take the harder defensive assignment, where Reddish has been picking up some steals there as well. Everybody's healthy for the Hawks. If you're going to play Embiid, then you're going to want Trae Young as a connector there, because you would assume that Embiid would come out if it's a blowout. So, Young and Collins, if you plan on keeping it close, if the Hawks are keeping it close, it's because Young and Collins are going off, and that's what you're looking for. Everybody else down the line here is of questionable value because they just cancel each other out really well.
All right, let's continue on. When we'll get to some good ones here. Orlando and Brooklyn, not quite one of the good ones, but it is one of the games where we do have the over-under here. It is Orlando in Brooklyn. Brooklyn favored by 3 at home. 212 over-under here. In this one, we know that Kyrie Irving out for the year, had shoulder surgery there. So that means Spencer Dinwiddie is going to be continuing to run the show. You've got Karis LeVert, who has been a very solid performer recently. He is someone that I have had some luck playing over on fantasy or on SuperDraft here. So I want to see, let's get over here to Karis. I want to see what his multiplier is, Jay, because it was pretty high it's 1.6. So you get 3 points for steals, 3 points for blocks, bonus for double doubles, triple doubles, half-point bonus for 3-pointers. It basically takes the highest scoring from each of the other fantasy sites and then puts a multiplier on it. So it's saying whatever Karis LeVert gets on their base fantasy points, we're adding another 60% to that. EMac likey.
Yeah.
Even in this difficult matchup. That is where I would like to be playing Karis LeVert. His shot attempts have been up dramatically recently as he's been coming back into health here and getting his sea legs and not having to worry about Kyrie Irving. But his shot attempts since moving into the starting lineups, 19, 29, 20, 13, 18, 20, and 20. So I think it's reasonable to say, yeah, 19 or 20 feels about right. And with the multiplier on that, at 60%, I'm cool with Karis LeVert. What do you like for our salary cap sites here?
Yeah, I mean that's obviously really good. I don't know when you're talking about multipliers, you want the biggest to win those things. You want a bigger ceiling than playing Orlando gets you. Now,
Right.
Orlando's one of those teams that's been in the bottom 10 in defensive rating over the last 10 games. So, but they play so painfully slow. That's it. It really caps your ceiling there. So, that's a great multiplier for Levert. You're banking on him getting the best of Dinwiddie, just on the floor and getting more of those points to realize a true ceiling in that situation. But definitely a good play. I mean, you're talking about a 28% usage guy playing mid 30 minutes with that kind of multiplier. It's good. It's good. So I mean, Orlando is going to give you the opportunity to be very efficient. So you want the guys that have the ball in their hands there, and that's Dinwiddie and Levert for sure.
All right. Everybody else is gonna kind of be roster filler here. Oops, wrong window. Tarian Prince is 44 on DK, 48 on FanDuel, and 16 on Yahoo. I'm okay with that one on DK. Joe Harris is 46, 49, and 13. I do like that $13 price tag for him. And then you've got Jarrett Allen and DeAndre Jordan kind of splitting those minutes again. We did see a nice game from Jarrett Allen in his last one. He was back in the starting lineup. We were wondering on Saturday what was going to happen there because DeAndre Jordan had actually started the second half of the last game, but he was doing battle with whoever they were playing is escaping me, but it was a more of a traditional big there. So I'm guessing against Vooch, we'll probably see Jarrett Allen in the starting lineup.
Yeah, I would think so. And an okay play. The problem is when you got guys splitting minutes against a slow team, you don't have the opportunity to accrue stats fast enough to really pay big. Now his price is low, so you do like that. But
it was Joel Embiid. Sorry, I needed to look that up. So
I mean that's the problem with that. So that's why I kind of like against bad defensive teams that play slow. I want the ball handlers. I want the guys that are going to be able to trigger the efficiency. And guys like Allen who need rebounds and blocks to make it happen, usually don't get the type of bandwidth they need to make that happen.
All right, moving over here to the Atlanta side. The Orlando side. We've got it's kind of some question marks. It's nice to see Markelle Fultz, kind of revive what's been going on with his mess, the shooting hitch in his giddy up, whatever you want to say. So he's actually been performing nicely. I mean, he's not all-star, didn't quite feel like the number one draft pick or anything like that.
Right.
But hey, could have been a whole lot worse. And I think we'll see him continue to get better and improve. So that could have been a career in the doldrums. You've got Vooch, who has slowed down a little bit, still having one of the best statistical seasons of his career, but been flagging lately. The shots, he was only hitting 45.8% from the field. He is taking two more 3-pointers than he does usually, hitting those at 33%, but it's been 10.8 rebounds, 3.7 assists, 19 points per game. Those have all sort of been coming back to earth lately. So I don't know that I'm overly excited for anybody from Orlando here, Jay. You are in the TV viewing area. What do the boots on the ground say about the Magic?
No, it'll be blacked out here. No, it's in Brooklyn. So, Vooch
You'll put the Visqueen over your TV. Black it out.
Exactly. Vooch is a good tournament play tomorrow, I think. I mean, Brooklyn, Brooklyn used to be super. They're a tough defensive team. So, and they're playing slow too. So it's not great, but he won't be very popular, and he does have the ability to get to 50. So he'll be an interesting tournament play in that regard because I think that you will see people favoring Embiid against Atlanta, and you've got a tasty Rudy Gobert matchup, which we'll get to in Julius Randle, also that are probably in better positions for points per minute. But against tougher defenses, you need the best players to produce. So it tends to funnel. Where against bad defenses, you can kind of, it can be distributed a little bit more. So you want the kind of the ball handlers against tough defenses. The better players have to rise to the top to produce, and that's where they'll have to rely on Vucevic to get some stuff done. Here, tough matchup against Jared Allen and but he's an interesting play. But I really don't like anything else on Orlando. They've all been priced pretty high. Fultz has been out, so it kind of inflated the production of other Magic players. So not much more I like on the Orlando side. Everybody's kind of overpriced for the matchup.
All right, that gets us to New York at Houston here. We've got Elfrid Payton, who has not played for coming out of the break as a sprained ankle. Did not practice on Saturday, but no other updates since then. We'll know if he's going to be playing or not. You also have Frankie Ntilikina, who is questionable with a sore groin. So, once again, the New York Knicks just don't get any breaks going their way. Does this have an over-under? It actually does. Houston favored by 14.
Yeah.
229 over-under here. You've got Harden at 11,000, 11,500, and 55 on the three sides. Westbrook at 10,200, 10,400, and 48. Sure, they're perfectly acceptable. Don't know that they'll need to... it's hard to see them cracking kind of that 50-55 fantasy points just because I don't know that they'll need to be played. But even more interesting, Jay, Utah just can't figure out how to beat them. It was interesting going back to Saturday's game.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, I thought that Utah would win that one at home, and it did not happen.
Right. No,
I was not expecting a good game from Rudy Gobert. He played his 37 minutes,
right.
Took 5 shot attempts or whatever it was, which is basically what he's done the last 3 games without Capella to square off against. But, he was out there on the field. But holy cow, I mean, Houston won that one just the whole time.
Yeah, it's a little different with the Knicks, because you do Randall, obviously a more polished and offensive player than Gobert. So, certainly can go in against Houston, against PJ Tucker. But I think that, one of these Knicks centers will be interesting in tournaments. I mean, obviously, Randall at his price and his usage with nobody else really there is interesting, especially when you consider that there isn't a shot blocker back there. So Randall is a very interesting piece, as is, and I'm a sucker, EMac, for Mitchell Robinson, who should play in this one. I am a sucker, but getting up and down the floor and the attack mode of the Rockets does give an opportunity for Robinson to block some shots back there.
1.8 multiplier there on SuperDraft.
Oh, there you go. And he's inexpensive. He's one of those guys that I wish I had like an alert anytime they drop below 5K. Because I don't want to play them when they're above 5K on DK, but below 5K, I get interested. And so he's interesting to me. But the caveat is I'm a sucker. I just think he has an opportunity to do some of the things he does well in this game. So I wouldn't play them both together, because if Robinson's doing well, probably means Randall's playing a little bit less, or getting, not getting as many rebounds, et cetera, and vice versa. So, I'm curious on one of those guys. I probably have pretty solid exposure to Randall or Robinson here, at least initially, as we get into the slate.
Yeah, and Randall's kind of a reasonably priced, 82 on DK, 78 on FanDuel. We usually don't see prices lower on FanDuel, but we do in this case, and then 35 on Yahoo. So I think all of those are relatively fair. I just wanted to come back here and look at and see if there was anything that pops for Robinson. I guess 3 games ago against Atlanta, he had 15 points, 11 rebounds, 3 blocks, 3 steals. Yeah. So his block game is where it's all at. So here's his last few games: 4-1, 3-3-1, none, now, 4-5. So
yeah, and remember the Rockets take tons of threes, so maybe that's not when they do drive inside, Robinson will be there, and I think he has a good shot at some of that. but all those 3-pointers need corralling.
Yeah.
So that's why I like. Randall times out to me as points per dollar. Way early, obviously, before we get into it. But for the higher dollar centers, he probably is the best points per dollar guy I have projected right now over Gobert and Embiid on the slate. So very interesting. And because he kicks people in the pants from time to time, there is a segment of the population that kind of couldn't care less if Randall ever plays again. So that's always interesting for tournaments.
Indeed it is. Indeed it is. I just want to look at pricing's good for everybody. So with 16 teams in play, we'll have enough to go stars and scrubs. James Harden, of course, very, very good. But here's his recent game logs. 62, 60, these are fantasy points on DK. 67, 66, 46, 36, 79, 73, 75, 36. They're favored again well into the double digits at home. So it kind of feels like most projections are probably going to have him around 58 to 61 fantasy points. Westbrook probably about half a dozen points less. So from a raw point perspective, they're going to be way up there. We'll have the funding for it. I just want to say I don't know that a 70-point game from either one of them is really a likely outcome in this matchup.
But that's true. But it is interesting that his average DK points the last 3 games against this opponent 71. It is interesting.
Has he played them with Mr. Russell Westbrook?
Yeah. I'm pulling things up here, but yeah, it's he is that is super. That is good to me. I like that. I'm just looking.
Oh, I guess they haven't played yet this year, these two teams, so that would have been.
Oh, that's Westbrook. Right. No, It was last year, but they were blowouts, so we'll see.
All right, very valid points there. So again, these are just kind of presenting two sides here. Doesn't mean you don't want to play them. Just saying that perhaps that outcome is right. less in play. In this,
you're saying that if they do blow him out, that Harden's the guy doing the damage. Mm-hmm. He's reasonably priced for his ceiling, that's for sure. And the gap between he and Westbrook has shrunk, so at least a little bit. So I mean, we're within $800 now on DK of these two guys. So I think that Harden's still the alpha dog there, and the Knicks really aren't going to stop anybody. So we will. We'll see, but he's definitely priced well for his ceiling.
Be careful with Robert Covington. Love him, but they brought him in to shoot threes and disrupt the passing lane. So his last 4 games, 12, 10, 8, and 10 3-pointers. His blocks, and this is what's making him look decent. 3, 4, 4, and 1, and the game where he had 1, he did have 2 steals. But the problem is he's not really making the 3-pointers. He's basically only taking those 3-point shots. His points have been 8, 20, 12, 14. Fantasy points 33, 38, 39, 27. So once you start peeling back the onion there, where his price is at right now, doesn't feel great.
He's one of those alert guys. Yeah. I like it when his price gets low and there's rings alert. Covington's low. But when he gets above 6K and above, EMac,
yeah, well, with Damari Carroll in the house, Jeff Green on the team now, they sent Clemens and Hartenstein back to the G League,
but Daniel House's numbers are down, with that.
Eric Gordon back in the mix,
right?
It's just, where are these minutes going to go? And it wouldn't shock me if we see. I think Covington's are okay, but I could see him maybe getting some of those nominal center minutes over PJ Tucker, because they're going to run PJ Tucker into the ground if they're not careful here.
He's not in the ground already.
Well, he kind of is.
No, but no, it's you're absolutely right. The price is not excellent for him. So, I mean, it's all right, but it's not great like it had been previously. So.
Well, we got a fun one coming up next here. So Minnesota at Dallas, we do not have the over-under yet.
Yep.
everything went into panic mode on Saturday when all of a sudden everybody's favorite play, including mine, Luka Doncic, decided to take a night off here, which turned
Right.
out to be
Well,
okay.
he played one game. I mean, time to rest.
Yes, yes. So was not a surprise to see Porzingis sit that one out, but they should both be back. We have Minnesota coming in here. They're on the back to back. They played in Denver on Sunday night, and now they're headed off here to Dallas. So D'Angelo Russell, who got Sunday night off because Sunday is a day of rest, he is back in the lineup here. I really like Luka Doncic in this one.
Sure.
I like the pace of the game. I like the complete lack of defense for Minnesota. And I like the fact that he could quickly rack up the fantasy points. I'm not thinking this one is going to be close. I'll be surprised if it's less than like a 9 point spread. But Luka is the guy that literally does everything for the team. His usage is up there like with LeBron and primetime Michael Jordan. Kind of thing. He can knock down threes. He's third in the league in assists. He's second or third or fourth in scoring, like 29 points a game. Yada yada yada. Leads the team in rebounds, steals, blocks, everything. Where I was saying I don't know what's going to happen with Harden, Westbrook, etc. It's because they got a bunch of people that shoot threes and weird stuff can happen, and they could all of a sudden be up by 20 against the Knicks, and those guys weren't the ones sinking them. Luke is going to be the one propelling Dallas to a win for this one. So I feel a little bit better. Now it'll need a flawless game. I mean, I think we're going to get a triple-double from him here. But how much more than that? I mean, if it's, 30, 10, and 10, which isn't bad, but it could be 24, 10, and 10 or something like that. And all of a sudden we're not quite seeing the upside. But he's the one I do want to take a chance on. What do you like from this game? Either side, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I to your point, I mean, obviously, I don't need to tell any listeners that Luka Doncic is a fabulous DFS play. I will say though that I think he'll be the most popular of the expensive guys. So
Probably.
If you're approaching it from an ownership standpoint, his price tag on DK is 10.5, and it's right there, sandwiched with Antetokounmpo, Harden, Young, and Russell Westbrook, and then Kawhi just outside 10K. So I think he's going to be popular, and there's certainly Minnesota, one of the second worst defense over the last 10 games, coming off a back-to-back. I mean, you could, you can see some paths to him not getting all the minutes, but he's going to shred them when he's in there. So I would watch, stay tuned to the Awesemo ownership percentages throughout the day. Let's see where he's stacking up with some of the other ones. If he's reasonably owned, I think he's probably the top play among the top guys tonight. He's fantastic for doing everything that he can do. One thing in his favor, EMac, is that Dallas is also among one of the worst 10 over the last 10 games in defense per possession. So maybe they can be bad enough for Minnesota to stay in it. But and they have been playing Luka, and he's had his time off. So maybe so. I just think that there's an interest. I think he'll be the most popular one up there. And just other than that, from both sides, though Porzingis has been playing well with him too, which is something that wasn't happening earlier in the year. We were seeing, weren't seeing the ceilings from Porzingis as we were, and he's reasonably priced in a smash matchup, as we just saw Paul Millsap go off tonight from the power forward position, getting 40 DK points in 27 minutes. So it tells you kind of about where, Porzingis can go a little higher there. But an interesting matchup from the Minnesota standpoint. The value has been what people are attracted to, but with Russell playing, you don't get the Jordan McLaughlin fantasy fun time Sunday night special. You don't get that. And Malik Beasley doesn't get as many shots. So just overall, it kind of depresses some of the value here, and basically makes Russell, if you're playing Russell in there at his price, then you got to make sure that you come back with some Maverick love and play, get some Maverick in there, whether it's Porzingis or Doncic, base it around there to keep it close to that price.
Yep. Let's see. For Minnesota, the one guy, obviously Russell as mentioned, but Malik Beasley would be the other guy. He's getting a ton of shot attempts. with his new squad here, and he's adequately priced at 6,000 on DK, 56 on FanDuel, 19 on Yahoo. He'd be the other guy I'm kind of interested in. So we shall see. We shall see. Moving along here to go. This one is Phoenix at Utah. We have Utah favored by 8 at home. Looking where? Okay, come back to me. Want to see who is injured here. I'm Okay, so Aiton still carrying the Q tag. He's been playing through an ankle injury, but has not been an issue. Played 35 minutes on 36 and 35 on back-to-back nights. So pretty good. Not the 40 we'd seen him touch several times heading into the break, but to me that means not really one to worry here. The matchup, a little bit tougher. This will actually be the first time he's going against Rudy Gobert this season. Gobert in this matchup, I like. Ayton didn't play because he was serving a suspension, but Gobert dropped 46 fantasy points, and Ayton doesn't play defense. So this is a good one for Gobert. I think you can consider Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker. I feel that Rubio might be familiar with the shooting backdrop there in Utah. What do you got here for this one? Because there feels like there should be some pieces in this one that we like.
Yeah, I think Gobert is interesting because he's the second best for me fantasy point per minute at center on there behind Randall in terms of the top end guys. I'm not talking about some of the bench value that could be out there tonight, but Gobert just kicked everybody in the shorts in the Rockets matchup. So you've got a little bit of recency bias against him. He's in a matchup where he's going to have to defend Ayton. Ayton's not shooting threes, so it keeps Gobert closer to the hoop, which gets him some of those 15 rebounds that we'd like to see back there. So Gobert is my favorite play among the bigs in this one, more so than Ayton, who's $1,000 more on DK in a tougher matchup for him. I think Mike Conley is really interesting at his price, going there for Utah. If you can pencil him in for 32 minutes, I think that that's a pretty good value. Mitchell for his ceiling. That's it for Utah, and on the other side, I think they're mostly price appropriate over there. Now, EMac, I think that Booker at that price is always really interesting. He's 8K on DK, has the high ceiling, has been scoring better away than at home. Kind of picking up the slack, and like I said, your better players have to play against better defenses. However, I will say that Utah is fourth worst. They're one of those teams, EMac. Fourth worst in defense over the last 10 games. So it's a sneaky place to go. You want your highest usage guy in that kind of situation, and that's Devin Booker. So I like Booker on the Phoenix side.
All right. One last one here. Memphis at the Los Angeles Clippers. We do not have an over-under for this one.
We got a couple questions. Yeah, we got Paul George.
The status is, let's see, considered questionable, still dealing with a hamstring injury that he tweaked prior to the break. He has not played since the 13th. So 10 days off now for him. We shall see. 7,800. If you were projecting him, if they were going to play him in potential minutes in this one, I could see 25 minutes at 7,800. Would you consider him for 25 minutes in this matchup?
Probably not. I think even at 30 and 32 with Leonard in, and so I wouldn't see myself getting there. Memphis has actually been better recently. Even though they play at a fast pace, they're much like Milwaukee. They've been playing better defense. There's a lot of possessions out there, so it kind of looks a little deceiving. So I don't know that I would get to Paul George unless at 25 minutes. Just think there'd be other places that of value that would be easier to get to. there. I'm yeah, I think that's pretty much where I'm landing. So I'm looking across. I'd love to know if Patrick Beverly is going to be in.
Jaren
Because
Jackson Jr.
dirt
out, so
dirt cheap. Yep, Jaren Jackson Jr. is out on the Memphis side, which means you're going to see some Brandon Clark get more minutes there. And I'm a big fan of more minutes for Brandon Clark. Does all the things that you like to see out there. Clippers. This game, Memphis and the Clippers, two of the fastest pace get teams over the last 10 games. Also, so I love Brandon Clark doing Brandon Clark things: rebounds, blocks, steals, finishing around the hoop. Clippers lack the big man inside to really deter anything. We love Trezl, but he's not he's not a deterrent inside at all. So I like Clark, and I like I'm in tournaments. I'm always a fan of having some Joe Val out there. It could get sticky for him, but with Harrell playing 26 and 28 minutes and Zubac getting the other ones, I like some Joe Val in the middle there as well.
That back on November 27th, Joe Val did drop 60 DK points on this very same team with a 30-16 game.
It's in play. I mean,
Joe Val made 2 3-pointers in that game, by the way. Because when it's going your way, it's going your way.
Fire it up. No, obviously there's a lot of pieces to like. Memphis, Joe Val, Morant, and Clark, and Dylan Brooks too. All four are extremely reasonable price: 69, 68, 55, and 48 on DK. That is EMac. That is exceptional pricing in a matchup, like I said, that's been faster paced against the Clippers. Clippers are not an easy defense, but they're not impossible. And with that pace and those guys really bringing a lot of the usage, I'm probably going to see a lot of Memphis, a lot of those four guys in particular in my lineup. And you've also got Gorgie Dieng down there. If he can get the 25 minutes backing up at 3,400 in a fast-paced game, and if Joe Val, there's paths for Dieng to get things going too. So Memphis, I'm very happy with the pricing in this matchup, even in LA. And I will have some Trezl too from the Clippers side for sure. I'm big happy about the value in this game and this game overall.
Yeah, no, it is actually pretty good on the salary sides. On the other sides, gets a little tricky. Being the multiplier side here, sponsor SuperDraft. You've got Brandon Clark at 165, Dylan Brooks at 1.6. Gorgie Dieng at 175. Yeah. It's hard to get them some baseline numbers there.
Where's Morant and Joe Val on that one?
Yeah, Brandon Clark would be the one I'd go for amongst those. Where is Joe Val? Joe Val is at 1.35, so not spectacular for him.
No, because I've got Clark and Valanciunas pretty close.
Yeah. Montrezl is 1.5. That's always nice.
Right. The only thing about Montrezl on SuperDraft is that he just doesn't get the mid 30s minutes and the big ceiling to knock down the tournament. So it's a great multiplier for him in terms of points per minute. But if he's only getting 26 minutes, you're not going to get there compared to some of the other guys that we've talked about already on here that are going to get 32, 33, 34 minutes in very similar spots.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap it up. Hopefully everybody made it safe to work on their commute there. A lot to unpack, but of course at 9:30 you will get the DFS strategy show. I believe that will be Josh Engelman and Dave Loughren. They will not be doing the one chip challenge like they did on Friday, but good on them for doing that. That was kind of interesting. We'll have to see. First show for both of them together since that. So we'll have to hear the war stories of how they spent the rest of their mornings after doing that, because neither one had breakfast when they did that, Jay. I don't think I'd want to do it, and I don't think I'd want to do it on a stomach lined with coffee and some Reaper one chip challenge. Ghost peppers, I think is what they were called.
Yeah, it's a bold strategy, Cotton. I don't know. That's Good for them. I mean, they're tough guys. I mean, they're men's men. Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly. But with that, you can check them out. Of course, we will have the deep dive article behind the paywall. We'll have the deeper dive show at 5:00. We will have live before lock at 6:00. So again, wall to wall stuff here, and we are 2 days or so away from baseball. So Thursday, what is it? March 26th, I think it is, going off the top of my head here. We get to opening day. Yes, Thursday, March 26th. It's going to be a good one, Jay. All 30 teams in action for the third consecutive season on opening day. I'm so glad they did away with that silly ESPN one gamer the night before.
It might be the only thing MLB's done well in the last 2 years.
Just play. Oh, and everybody playing at the same time at the end of the season. That's fun as well.
Right. Yeah.
But there we go. But with that, you can follow Jay. What is your DFS Twitter handle, Jay?
The aptly titled Jason Walker DFS.
Excellent. I am EMac DFS, and it is Osmo _COM. With that, gamers, good luck.